Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we like. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today we are talking about the 1992 movie Strictly Ballroom, which is honestly one of my favorites. But before we get into that, I got to warn you, gotta let everybody know that we are crass, we are unhinged, and we're rather unladylike, really, if you think about it. So if you don't like swearing or talking about all of the naughty times, not that there was any in this movie, but still, you've been warned.
There were some cute kisses.
Yeah, there were some cute kisses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some sexual tension dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love sexual tension dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
God,
not in love with him. You are. Shut up.
Anyway, before we talk about the movie, you guys got to get me caught up on what you've been doing the last week. What have you been watching or reading or listening to?
I have continued the Improbable Meet Cute series. So I actually finished With Any Luck by Ashley Poston, which actually got spicier than I thought it was going to, which was nice. For a 1 hour audiobook. It was pretty surprising. And then I read Drop, Cover, and Hold On by Jasmine Gilroy, which was really great. Honestly, my favorite so far. Also got steamier than I thought it would. And I was like, hello. I had no idea. And then I also binged a fuck ton of Sense8 because I'm obsessed. There you go.
Let's see. I went down a Chilling Adventures of Sabrina rabbit hole. I watched 3 seasons of it, which is dedication on my part, I have to say.
Wait, which ones are the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
It's the Netflix series, the
Okay.
creepy
Yeah.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch thing.
I think I only got through season 2.
I think that's about where I stopped off too.
Yeah.
And then I played a shit ton of Baldur's Gate 3. Those things happened simultaneously. Because of course they did. Because God forbid I sit still for even one goddamn minute. And then I decided that I needed to switch games. So I started a 100 Baby Challenge on The Sims.
I have never completed one of those, and I feel like that's my biggest failing as a gamer.
It's so hard though.
It is.
It's so hard. But yet I keep doing it. So I've been doing that. And then I also decided that I really needed to watch some real trashy TV. So what did I go with? Below Deck.
I don't even know what that
Oh, you're
is.
back at that, huh?
Yep. Below Deck is it's about professional yachting where they can chart where stupidly rich people chart yachts. And so Below Deck follows the people who run the yacht and everything. Like a 3-day charter, they end up with a $2,000 tip.
What the fuck?
To be divided between 10 people. But
okay,
still,
okay. But still.
Somebody has $2,000 to just tip you with.
Yeah, that's not even with what they spent on the yacht, and there's a private chef on the yacht, so what they spent on the food and all of that.
There's also a massive scandal around Below Deck. Not to tangent. You can find it on the internet, but it's not good. Some shit happened. Not good.
Do y'all remember that Netflix show a while back? I can't remember what it was called, but it was about this girl, Anna, who was pretending to be this
Inventing
rich...
Anna?
Yes. And there's a whole bit in there where her and her boyfriend stay on the yacht after everyone else leaves. And they're like, this costs this much money. I was like, stop saying words. I don't understand. It's so insane.
I never watched that show. It's on the list to watch, but I keep going back to things that I've already seen.
I do know this.
Watched a lot of it. I don't think I finished it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Oh, things. I finished Flock by Kate Stewart, who is the author of The Plate Before Christmas that we did. It is her MC, but not an MC romance, and dark, but not a dark romance, and reverse harem, but not a reverse harem romance. if that's in any way, shape, or form helpful.
So I can get MC and not an MC. I can get dark but not. I do not understand reverse harem but not.
Well, because there's Cecilia, our main gal, and she like falls in love with two men's. And like, there's like one scene where they're all together. Not to ruin or spoil anything. Maybe you should cut that out. But so that's why I mean it's like there, but like not.
So it's more of a wide shoes than a reverse harem?
Probably, yeah.
Well, they don't like in a reverse harem. They don't necessarily, the other partners don't have to like interact, right? Like it could just be an all of the above.
Well, usually my understanding of it is at least everybody is having sexy times together. Even if everybody's focused on the woman, they're all at least together for at least some of it. I don't know the definitions. I don't know if there are definitions. I don't know how I feel about it, because it was like Credence by Penelope Douglas met Twilight. And that's not a good that's not a definition that breeds hope.
It does not.
So
what did you rate it?
I'm still thinking. I think for a lot of it, I was rating it a 3. And then we got to the end and I'm like, this is closer like a 2.5.
An ending is like the clincher. I've read a book where I was annoyed the whole time, and then the ending was so fucking good. I was like, you're a 4.
I've done that too. Or the ending sucked so fucking bad after I've been loving the book the entire time, and I'm like, you're a 2.
Right.
You ruined this for me. A lot of people say Stephen King did that to it. People fucking hated the ending of it.
I've never read the ending. In fact, I've never actually read the book. I've only watched the miniseries with Tim Curry. So my perspective on it was that I liked that ending, but I could see why people didn't like it.
Yeah. The other thing with Flock is it's not a standalone. So I then have to go listen to the next book to really know what happens. And I don't know if I really give a shit to do that.
Oh, I hate that.
So,
I hate abandoning series, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And admittedly, this is because I aged out of it.
yeah.
But the City of Bones series, right?
Yeah.
Cassandra Clare. Started reading that when I was like barely in my 20s, and got to the last book and I was like, I can't do it.
I did the same thing.
I can't do it.
Although for me, it was like, I got to like, I think it was like book 2. I got midway through book 2 and I'm like, I no longer care.
I'm really prescribing more to the, like, there are too many books in the world that I want to read to spend any time on books that like I'm kind of meh about.
Fair
Right.
enough.
There's a big conversation on TikTok right now where I think it's died down quite a bit, so probably it's fine for me to talk about this by the time this would come out. This author, who will remain nameless, I'm not going to throw her under the bus, was saying that you are required to give authors at least a 3
No. That's a
on
pity.
your rating system. And I'm like, then I'm just DNFing. Like, that's what it's going to be. Like, if that's the thought process, if you annoy me and I'm expected to give a positive review at the end, then I just won't finish your book.
Well, I know we've talked about that before. I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but that doesn't really mean anything then.
No.
Because then all of a sudden 3 just becomes the new 1. Like
We
it doesn't
absolutely
mean
talked about it on
anything.
the podcast. Yeah.
So, let's talk about this movie. I have so many fun facts for you today. So, let's just get into it. So, if you have been living under a rock, you might not know who Baz Luhrmann is. Otherwise, you should know that name. It should be everybody knows that name. Okay? Get it together. Go watch more movies. He wrote and directed this, and originally it was a play that he took to a wide variety of festivals that I'm not going to go into, but he wrote it based a little bit on his life. His mom was a ballroom teacher, like all of that. So he had all this experience to draw on. And then he took it to a festival where the right people saw it and decided they wanted to turn it into a movie. And so he wrote the screenplay with Craig Pierce and Andrew Bovell and directed it. And they had a little bit of issue getting funding, which you can kind of see in the movie
Yeah.
a little bit, especially when you compare it to Baz Luhrmann's like later works, where you go, if you give this person some money, they can do some crazy things, right? So this was his very first directorial debut. And it's the first in his series called the Red Curtain Trilogy. And if you think about the other two movies that are in this trilogy, it all makes sense because they're Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Both open with the red curtain, just like this one does.
I love Moulin Rouge so much.
It's a heavy movie.
It is a heavy movie. I bawl hysterically. It's been a long time since I've watched that movie.
Speaking of heavy, I'm just going to go ahead and throw in my one sad. The movie premiered in several film festivals in Australia and did very well. It actually was nominated for some Golden Globes and some British Academy of Film Awards. Did very well. But sadly, the actress who plays, I keep wanting to call him Paul, but that's his actor name. What's the character name? Scott. But the actress who plays Scott's mother in the movie sadly got diagnosed with cancer and died a month before it was able to premiere.
Oh.
Yeah. And the movie was met with such great acclaim that at these festivals that she missed out on the cast and crew getting 15 minutes of standing ovation at both premieres.
Wow.
Yeah. It has become like an Australian
cult classic kind of
cult
vibe.
classic. And more people all around the globe are falling in love with it. And in 2011 in Australia, they decided to bring it back to the stage as a musical.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's got big musical vibes.
It
Yeah,
sure
it
does. And Baz Luhrmamm and Craig Pearce, who wrote the original screenplay, also worked on bringing it back to the stage, which I love because sometimes they don't do those things. You know what I mean? Bring back the people who love the art and made it. And they were able to bring in or get approval to use Doris Day's Perhaps, and Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper.
Time After Time is so iconic in the movie.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It is needed.
Well, so is Perhaps. I fucking love that whole sequence, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, really, really fun. Those are my big fun facts. So Liz, tell us what the story is about.
Yeah. So now that you have all the fun facts, you can know what the story's about. So Strictly Ballroom is an Australian movie, and we have Scott, who is the son of a semi-famous, or at least in their circle well-known ballroom dancer who also runs a studio giving lessons and such. And he, right away in the top of the movie, in one of his competitions, decides that he wants to do his own steps. And in this ballroom dancing competition, all the steps are pre-approved, or they all have to come from this specific category of steps. And he decides that he's going to do his own, and it causes such a drama. And he loses his ballroom dancing partner because she goes to dance with another guy. And so his mom is all upset. So they decide they're going to do tryouts to hopefully find him a new partner, get him back on track, do the pre-approved steps, and then win the big Pan-Pacific. Yeah, Pan-Pacific
Grand Prix.
They say it 18 million times in the movie and it cracks me up.
So while they are getting these tryouts, he's not really enjoying any of the people who are going to be his dancing partners, because he is helping teach or give private lessons to Fran, who is a beginner dancer at the studio, and they kind of slowly fall in love with each other after him teaching her how to dance. So Fran eventually brings Scott to meet her family, and then he learns this entire new, to him, style of dance through her culture. And there's a lot of back and forth between him and his mom of whether or not they are going to follow the traditions of how you dance in the ballroom, or is he going to do his own thing? And I'm sure we'll get into the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. We will.
I will say he's not learning a new type of dance. He knows how to paso doble, but it's the whitewashed version of it.
Well, I mean,
Right.
that's the thing. It's a new to him way or style or culture of that dance.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, is this the first time you've seen this movie?
Yes.
How did that go for you? Because it's a lot to take in. I mean, any Baz Luhrmann movie is you're just like your eyes are like ha ha ha, and you got to process it. But like, how was this?
It's good. I liked it. I was getting a lot of the like. This sounds so weird. Old time movie watching feels, which I know it's a 90s movie or whatever, but there's a certain feeling you get sometimes. And I was getting that. I was like, oh, we going 90s now. I like it.
Well, the style of dress, because it is in Australia, also feels to me more 80s, which would make sense because they wouldn't have American 90s fashion.
It should feel more 80s to you because it's actually placed in the 80s.
Oh, well,
so
there you go.
Yeah. So it should. That's a correct analysis. Congratulations.
Look at that. I thought it was just because American 90s fashion hadn't made to Australia yet.
No.
In 92.
He wrote the original play for stage in the 80s.
Well, there you go.
More fun
the
facts
hair.
with Wiggles.
The hair was something else.
The hair was something else.
The hair, I both love it and hate it. You know what I mean? Like I'm simultaneously like want to touch those like crown of bangs that they create.
Oh my God. The first thing I saw them, I was like, is she wearing? Nope, that's her hair.
That's our full ass hair.
Just like glued straight up or like in a wave.
Yes.
My hair screamed for her hair.
Like, is all of them have that there's something about Mary moment, you know, where she puts the jizz in her hair. And that was the style choice. And then the like tight little like bun thing.
Yeah. That hurt my head. I was
know.
like, ugh, your hair's pulled so tight.
The like hairspray crown thing hurt my head. I was like, I'm so glad that that's not my hair because I can feel the hairspray washing down my body already.
Right?
Yeah.
I also love the like gemstones in the bangs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And like, oh my God, like I said, there's a part of me that fucking loves it. And the other part of me is like, ooh, no.
I'm fascinated by it because I'm just like, how do you get it to stay like that?
Well, I think that even now, like while the style has changed, having your hair cemented in place is still pretty common practice because like you can't just have that shit flying all over when you're doing all those twisty turns.
I suppose.
Yeah. Oh.
But also the makeup.
Oh, the makeup. What a
Yep.
choice.
It's a
Choices
lot.
were made. There's a girl on TikTok who pretends to be a salon stylist from the 80s.
Uh-huh.
And oh, the makeup and the like choices. She cracks me up. It's called Hot Looks Donna.
Nice.
And at one point in every skit, she starts going through this list of pet names, and at the end of it, it's "I'm gonna pump up your chair." She's like, "Honey, sweetie, goddess of light and sorrow, I'm gonna pump up your chair," and then it's just her bouncing up and down, pumping up. It cracks me up every fucking time.
The 80s were a wild time.
The 80s were a wild time.
The scene where Scott's mom is doing Fran's makeup, I'm just like, how do you think that that's a good look?
Well, I love too at the end of it, she's like, "This is your look."
Yes.
She said it, and I was like, "Oh, Fran, honey, wash your face."
Oh man. But you know, like the other products she gives her are shockingly effective. She's like, let me paint you a picture if you haven't watched this movie, but otherwise just go fucking watch the movie. God. So Fran starts off this whole thing. She's got the glasses so big her cheeks can see. She's got like the frizzy hair. She's got acne up the wazoo all over her face. And by the end of it, she has a great little glow up.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure in that glow up they dye her hair. And I'm like, okay. I don't know why you had to make her hair lighter in the beginning anyway, but whatever. But so she's getting all these products from Scott's mom, and like they're actually fucking working. And I'm like, what voodoo did you have in that? But yeah.
She very much has the like serial killer glasses at the beginning.
I mean, those were just glasses. When
They
younger.
were just
Yeah.
glasses in the 80s. They were, but
I will say though, the one thing I like about her glow up is because in a lot of rom-coms, when there is a glow up, it becomes like such a specific moment. Like she walks in the door and she looks entirely different, and all of a sudden the male lead is like, oh, she's so beautiful now. And that's not necessarily what happens. Her glow up like is a slow progression over like several scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
And-
gradual as she becomes more comfortable with herself, I think, too.
Right. Well, because her clothes also change. She starts to like choose to wear tighter clothes or more like what you'd expect a ballroom dancer to wear. But that's also happening while the beautiful dance montage in the beginning to Time After Time is happening.
Yes.
So it feels like Scott isn't just falling for her because she's getting prettier. He's like falling for her because they're having all these cute moments while he's teaching her how to dance.
Well, and the other thing about it is that you kind of have this sort of chicken or egg thing with that. Like, is she getting more confident because she's having this glow up, or is she having this glow up because she's getting more confident? And it's like a little bit of give and take on both of those, which I like, because that's kind of how in general getting better at anything works. Like it's always a little bit of like, I feel like I'm better at this because I've had success, but I also am getting better at this because I'm more confident,
Yeah.
you know? So I like that.
I also like that. So he doesn't notice her because she got this glow up and she's fabulous. He always knew she was there. He liked her just fine. She was one of the people in his mom's studio. And then he started to hang out with her, and then he liked her even more and everything. There wasn't the like, oh, she suddenly has better clothes and better makeup and stuff, and I'm into her now. It was a, gradual thing that happened between the two of them as well. It wasn't now she's dropped it gorgeous, so she's mine.
Well, and she also wasn't the typical rom-com timid. I mean, she was a little bit more timid in the beginning, but she's the one who like asked him to dance and to like partner together.
Well,
and I wish I had that boldness.
For sure. Well,
Also,
his
when
journey from like the beginning of the movie, Liz like not Liz.
It's Liz, yeah.
Okay, Liz storms off and he like takes out Fran on the way out, and Fran barely gets back up, and he's like pow, taking you out. So you go from all the way from that to like, I'm pretty sure I love this girl.
Yeah.
And so it is a really like nice full breadth of what their relationship is.
Absolutely. By the way, speaking of Liz, just because I love this moment. So she's a dick through most of the show, most of the movie and everything. But when they're like actively trying, when the like committee or whatever is actively trying not to let them dance, and she walks up and plugs the music back in, I was like, oh, Liz. Hi, Liz.
Yeah. So his ex-dance partner that leaves him because he's doing the crazy dance moves,
Yes.
his own steps.
I will say, I don't think for her it's so much that he's doing the crazy dance moves. It's that he leaves her behind.
He leaves her behind, and she's tied to him, right? And so she's been working for this her whole life in the same way he has, and he's screwing it up. They were gonna win. Like they always say, it's like it was Scott's year. It's also hers.
Yeah.
Right.
Like she's very justified in her anger.
Well, and if you don't know what kind of moves he's going to do, it's hard to follow.
Right. Well, in that opening sequence where they're talking about how everything went wrong, which I love.
They were so dramatic about it. I thought somebody died on the dance floor.
It's so good. It's so good. But when Scott does start doing all these crazy moves, he's like doing barrel rolls and shit like that, and she's just like sort of shaking her hips, walking in the same direction because she doesn't know what's gonna come at her. And she even says like, where the guy goes, I must follow. Like that's how it works.
Well, yeah, I don't blame her for being upset with him at all. Like I said, fine if you want to do the crazy moves and stuff, but you need to like clue in and rehearse with your partner.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's just it. It's a partnership.
Right.
Not just Scott doing Scott's thing.
Because you're kind of supposed to be mad at her for like dipping out. I don't blame her whatsoever.
I don't really find that any of the characters are truly unsympathetic.
No.
Like maybe Barry Fife.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say Barry, I could do some mean things too, but like,
I think Ken is also supposed to be pretty unsympathetic.
You think so?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. He's a drunk, so you could kind of view
Yeah,
him from the lens
think-
of that.
I think he's just kind of an idiot, honestly. And I think getting drunk just elevates the idiocy.
That's true.
Well, he does leave Liz pretty
He
much.
does.
As soon as she talks back to him, and Tina Sparkle shows up.
Tina Sparkle. Fucking love it.
Fucking love the Tina Sparkle thing.
Oh my God. Okay, so like we're kind of beating around it, but let's talk about it. One of the best parts of this movie is how fucking funny it is. And it's funny in its exaggeration of everything. Like every single character feels like a cartoon brought to life, except for Fran, who's like this very down to earth. And even going back to her glow up at the end, she does not glow up into another one of these girls. She does not do the flippy bang thing. She does not have the tight bun. She's not wearing sparkles up the ass. She's not wearing a skimpy outfit either. Not that there's anything wrong with literally any of those things, but her glow up is not to this caricature. She's still her.
Yeah. Oh, her dress at the end.
Well, the movie is farcical in a lot of ways. One of my favorite ways is when they use dancing as the comedy. Like, and they just like stop and like do poses in front of each other. Like, this is ridiculous, but I could also see if your life was dance, that's also just how you communicate constantly.
I also just love, speaking of using dance for comedy, when Scott and Liz are having their like first falling out, there's the whole bit with Les and Scott's mom. I can't think of her character. Shirley, thank you.
Which, by the way, is also confusing. Why did they have Liz, Scott's dance partner, and Les, who is Shirley's old dance partner? Like, it's too confusing. I understand that Les is, I'm sure, short for Leslie, but it's just confusing.
It is. But while they're dancing, like coaching their students, they're having this whole conversation of like, what's going to happen? Is Scott going to, and like the way that they use that to like play up the comedy is so good, especially when Les like almost like attacks Scott and makes him dance with him.
Yes.
And he's like, arms, Clary, arms. It's so good.
I will say the camera is also doing a lot of work in those scenes too. Whatever is happening with the camera, it is telling its own story.
Yes, like one thing that happens so frequently in this movie is that inappropriate close-ups happen so often. And that in and of itself is fucking hilarious. The amount of times that Shirley gets that camera right in her face.
And you know it was right in her face because it was the 90s and cameras weren't that good back then. That thing was way closer than you assume it actually was.
Yes. I also am totally in love with her voice throughout the whole movie. Like the way that she speaks and says everything. Oh God, it's so great. Scott!
The way everybody yells Scott is
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty funny.
It was supposed to be his year. God, it's so fucking funny.
I have never seen this movie before now. And when I started this movie and they're talking about all the disaster that happened and everything, I legit thought somebody died on the dance floor. I was like, did somebody get trampled? Like, what sort of accident could really happen in, ballroom dancing?
Did I fail him as a mother? Oh, it's so good.
I was like, everybody looks like somebody died. Like, what is happening? I'm sitting in my bed watching this movie and going, what did these girls get me into?
The best thing ever.
Trust me, I've lived this life because Wiggles made you watch this movie, I think, when I was a freshman in college. You like
Probably.
sat me down and we're like, we're watching this. And I was like, I don't want to.
Tough
We're watching
shit,
this.
bitch. You're watching this movie with me. Yeah.
Rachel did that to me with Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar.
I have no idea what that is. I've never heard those words in that sequence ever before in my life.
Oh, it's amazing. It's Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo in drag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're really fucking pretty.
They are. Especially
John-
when you can't take into consideration when it was filmed.
Yeah, like they're gorgeous. I was like, Wesley, what is happening?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't able to. I wasn't able to figure it out the entire movie.
Uh-huh.
How old are Scott and Fran supposed to be?
I think that they are early 20s. That's my theory, but I don't think it's ever truly spoken.
Yeah, it's not really said. I assumed early 20s, if not very late teens, like 18, 19.
I didn't think they were quite teenagers, although they do act like teenagers quite a bit. But it felt more like Scott was still there because his whole life was becoming like this great ballroom dancer, right?
Yeah.
So that's why he hasn't done anything to move on with his life. And Fran was still there because she's helping her family with the store.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my understanding of it, was that they were a bit older than just teenagers.
And that's kind of what I assumed, solely for the fact that Scott fucks off so much with them having no clue where he is.
right.
And I feel like they would be a little more frantic about it if he were younger. You know what I mean?
Well, and he's competing with all adults,
Yeah.
That is true.
you know. So in terms of the age of the actors, I know that they're much older than that.
Oh, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can literally tell.
Well, so the actor who plays Scott, this was actually his first ever acting role, like acting period.
Really?
Yeah, he was a professional dancer in Sydney before this, and this was his, like, they were like, hey, and he was like, I think he did pretty good for it being the first time.
Right.
Yeah. So something I want to talk about is the like dance improvement that we see in Fran. It feels really natural and real. So when we first meet her, she's back in beginners and dancing with another girl in the class who doesn't have a partner, and is frequently dancing the guy's part.
Yes.
Yes.
And so she has to go from that to being Scott's partner, and Scott's like insanely all over the place, as we see established in the beginning. And so for her to be able to keep up with him at the end is just really nice. Like, it's great because it shows that even though we get these many montages of them like practicing and improving, there's way more that we're not seeing in order for her to have gotten to that point.
Absolutely.
Because
it takes a tremendous amount of effort and rehearsal to be able to get that good.
Right.
Well, and to do it like in an improvisational style,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because at the end, that was not a planned situation to have to dance without the musics.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And like, it took Scott like his entire life to get as good as he is.
Yeah.
He's probably been doing this since he could walk, you know?
Well, he says a lot in there that it was his plan to win the Pan
Pacific Grand
Thank
Prix.
you. My brain just keeps wanting to say Pan Asian, and I'm like, that's not.
That's not it.
This.
Not it.
He says it was his dream to win that since he was 6 or something.
Which I think makes sense because his little sister and her partner are probably like, what, 8 or 9?
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm sure that they surely roped him in early.
Yes.
While we're talking about his little sister and her partner.
Too cute, right?
How fucking cute are they?
They're definitely one of the best like moments or best things in the movie. Granted, most of the movie is one of the best things of the movie, so that's not very helpful.
When they try to stop the music on them and the kids run in and lock the booth.
Yes.
I'm like, I fucking love you.
You can tell that her partner is ride or die. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know this for sure, but it is headcanon for me that they are married. They have 2.5 children together. Like, they're in love.
The level of shenanigans that those two probably get into in middle school is so high.
Insane.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Insane. I want a movie just about those two characters.
Well, and then when they unplugged it and the kids were trying to like get it back from her and stuff, that's when Liz comes in and is like, oh, hell no. And I have a feeling that had more to do with the fact that, don't you touch my children.
Right.
Because like these kids have been around the dance studio that she's worked in for their entire lives.
Well, that is a really good point because Liz has been Scott's partner for years. So she would know the children pretty closely.
Well, even with her not being Scott's partner, her mom or his mom treats her still like she's one of hers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, she's mad at Scott.
Yes.
It's like, the fuck?
Well, and when Liz gets dumped by, what's his face?
Ken.
I need to wash the orange off that man. But when she gets dumped by Ken from dancing with her, she goes back into the studio, and the very first thing that happens is everybody gives her a hug and welcomes her in, and commiserates with her. And I appreciate that, because there is a level of camaraderie to the artistic people that you surround yourself with. And that's definitely true of dancing and theater and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it kind of goes back to Wiggles' point of Liz is supposed to be viewed almost as like an antagonist in this entire movie. But when you break it down, is she? Right? Because like if the people around her are like showing affection and
are mad on her behalf.
Yeah. And she has a solid reason to be pissed off.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
Is she really the antagonist?
No, I was never mad at her this entire movie.
No,
Yeah.
I thought she was fucking hilarious. Every time she like comes in screaming.
Yes.
And that fucking
fucking love
yellow
it.
jacket.
Yes.
Every time she comes in that yellow jacket, I'm like, oh, honey, it's not a good color on anyone.
Well, one of my favorite fucking things is when Scott and Liz are having this fight, and he goes, "What do you want?" And she goes, "I want Ken to come in here and tell me that whatever his partner's name is, I can't think of it, that has broken both her legs, and I want to dance with you." And then he comes, we like watch this like dramatic reenactment of a car crash, and he comes in, "She's broken both her legs. I want to dance with you."
I died. I was laying in my bed rolling around when that happened.
Oh God, it's so funny.
I was like, what are they making me watch? This is fabulous.
The greatest thing ever. Also, going back to Scott's sister, she has some of the best one-liners in the fucking movie. Like right before the part where Liz like ends up plugging the music back in, she and the blonde big titty lady, I don't even know what her fucking name is other than her last name, because the little girl goes, "Shame on you, Miss Leachman."
Yeah, I know. She said it and I was like, oh, you snarky little girl, I love you.
Well, and when they catch Scott and Fran dancing together, her partner is like, "What are we all staring at?" And she's like, "The unfathomable circumstance of Scott dancing with Fran." Get it together, keep up.
According to the internet, that little girl's name is Kylie.
Oh.
Character name?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think they've ever said it in the entire movie.
I honestly don't think they did either, or if they did, it was just like a throwaway or like under the breath type thing.
I honestly couldn't remember through most of the movie whether or not she was Scott's little sister or if he was Scott's little brother, or are they both?
The only way I knew that the boy is not Scott's brother is because Shirley makes a big deal in the beginning to be like, "He's my only son."
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I just was like, I can't, are they siblings? No. Are they Scott's siblings? Like, I knew one of them was related to Scott at least, but I couldn't decide if they were both Scott's siblings.
There's one throwaway line where she's talking to her daughter and she says something about your brother. And then there's the moment where Scott comes home late after dropping Fran off, and she says she's yelling at him, and his sister gets up and is all like bedheaded and is spying on them. Otherwise, you would not know for sure.
Yeah.
So that is one failing of the movie. Like, a few relationships are not established very well. Also, you never see them interact. You never see Scott and Kylie, as it turns out, interact at all.
Yeah, no, they never really did. She's just always there.
There's one scene, I think it's when Shirley is doing the alteration on Kylie's outfit, where he says something to her in a brotherly way, and that's like it.
Yeah, I definitely, especially because it's not that long a movie, I would have loved it like a little bit. Just like give me a little breadcrumbs. That would have been great.
How cute would have been for them to be dancing together.
Look, my heart and my ovaries can't handle it. The man gave me too many sultry looks and then did a lot of dancing and a lot of hip work. So,
Baz Luhrmamm was just looking out for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
Just didn't want to get me pregnant by proxy.
Yeah. He can't handle that many kids. It's too many.
Just how sweet would that be if like the camera just comes in and it's him dancing with her, just helping her out. Oh, like, and if Fran maybe walked in.
You do not need to make me fall in love with this man more. Let me be very clear.
Hey, just saying, I can rewrite.
Danny rewrite corner.
Danny rewrite corner. I can rewrite really sweet things. I don't want them to happen in my life, but I can rewrite really sweet things.
Since we're talking about relationships, I'm going to do a hard left here.
Okay.
Hard left.
What did you guys... Doug. So Scott's dad.
Oh, Doug.
Doug.
This poor beaten down man
With his swirly hair.
who has no idea how to communicate to anyone and just kind of dances. I don't know. Is it supposed to be good
I don't know.
when he does his like solo dancing? Because it doesn't look good.
It's amazingly funny.
Yes.
In front of the Coca-Cola sign.
Oh my god.
I mean, just saying. We all dance real weird when we think people can't see us.
It's true. And he does like to invent moves. We know that about him.
I love the like sequence where
Oh my God.
who is it that's telling
Barry Fife.
Barry Fife is telling Scott the story, and they do this like comical like reenactment
Farcical.
of Scott eventually or essentially doing the same thing Doug doing the same thing that Scott was doing, where he decides to do his own moves. And they like put all of this makeup on Doug to almost look like the MC from Cabaret.
Yes.
And it's hilarious, and I love it so much.
That started and I was like, oh, dear Lord, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? Why? I still don't understand why it's a bad thing to make up your own moves.
Well, so I watched a few clips from the musical, right?
Sure.
And there's a trailer that has quite a few of the sequences in it. And the costumes, for the most part, have like a similar feel, but aren't spot for spot until it gets to that sequence. Like the Shirley's dress and hair, spot on. The makeup, perfect. Like it is like they were like, listen, no notes.
No notes. Perfection has already been achieved.
Right? And they're correct because it's amazing. I also love that they make Doug look younger, but the other guys, they just slap a wig on.
I know.
Yeah, they're just like, no, it's fine.
And they're the worst fucking wigs.
I know. But that's the comedy of it.
It's so good.
That like the three of them doing the like 2-step back and forth.
Yes.
Oh my God. I was just like, oh, make it stop, but continue, please.
Right. Or Doug like poking his head out in between the curtain going, wow.
I know. It's so confusing to me because you watch that scene and then you watch the beginning of the movie where Doug has like this terrible comb over and like he has a pronounced like pot belly. And I'm like, is this the same man? And it is.
He's just
somehow.
such a sad sack.
Yeah.
Like he's got the mope face constant. You're like, oh,
He's
you are
so
so
awkward.
beaten down.
Well, I mean, you would be too if your wife was yelling at you that you were worthless and
It's true.
Oh God, yeah. That's the only.
She is very abusive to him.
yeah.
She really is. Like I love her in many ways. She is hilarious, but there are definitely moments where I'm like, woman, he didn't do anything.
Well, I would feel more upset about it if she wasn't like that with literally everyone.
Yeah.
Like there's a moment very early on where Scott's walking away and she's like, Doug, talk to your son. And Doug's like, hey, son. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Right. And she's like, don't you talk to your father like that. Doug, go talk to him. Like yelling at both of them for not doing what she wants. It's amazing. Oh, God, she cracks me up.
Oh, Shirley.
Okay, I feel like we've put it off for long enough, and I've been savoring it and saving it. The romance.
Oh, the romance.
Romance.
It comes in fast.
Yeah, it does.
Just The time after time scenes,
So good.
right? When they're learning how to dance together. It's like all you want in life. You just want somebody to teach you how to dance like that.
Correct. I've watched this movie, I don't even know how many times. A stupid number.
Uh-huh.
Just assume what you think is too high, add like 5 more. But rewatching it again for this, found myself the whole time just going, I know I can't dance, but I feel like Scott could make it happen. If he can make Fran dance, he could make me dance. And now I'm more in love with him, and it's not healthy.
That's also the thought process I had, because I also cannot dance despite having actually taken lessons.
Yes.
I cannot do it. It's not happening for me.
I'm not terrible.
Well, what's it like, Danny,
Well, okay.
to not fail miserably like us?
I don't say that I'm good at very many things. And I'm still not saying I'm good at it. But I'm not bad.
I can't follow. That's my problem.
You know what? You probably would do very well with Regency dancing. I, one time in my wild life that I have led, went to an event where there were people who were literally just teaching you how to Regency dance. And
That always looks so fun to me.
it's super fun. It's a little stressful because if you don't step in the right place, you fuck somebody else up. But like, I feel like if you practice this, I get why they can like do it like an army in all of these movies. Like they're just like, yes, I go here and then we twirl and that like, but you don't have to touch people that much, which is intentional because you shouldn't be touching the men's. Scandal.
But that also means they don't put their sweaty hands on me, so yay.
Unless you want those sweaty hands on you.
It depends. I mean, depends. Is it Patrick Swayze and Dirty Dancing? Yeah, we'll talk about it. But
There are very few men who could sweat on me and I wouldn't get angry. Patrick Swayze is one of them.
yeah,
Okay. Calm down, you two.
Scott's another.
never. I will not cool my ovaries.
Okay.
Okay, Danny.
Okay, Danny.
Okay.
Okay, but for real though, the other part I really like about it is one of the things that I've noticed before, but like didn't like hit as hard as it did this last time, is that the moments where they're not dancing, after they've gone through the time after time sequence, Scott reaches to like touch her, but is hesitant because he doesn't know if it's okay. Like the first time him and Fran kiss, he like kisses her, his hands are like right near her waist, but like he's like, well, we're not dancing, is it okay? It's like, oh, I did
notice that, and it's when they're having the conversation when he was like, you remember what I said, it was just dancing. And I don't think it is anymore. And he does one of those where he kind of like reaches out, and instead he reaches out and grabs like the chain link fence.
Yes.
Because the camera's on the other side of the chain link fence when they're having that conversation. So he kind of like reaches out and grabs the chain link fence. And I'm like, oh buddy, you're having a hard time keeping your hands to yourself. And I'm proud of you for doing so, because respectful. But even when he kisses her, then like he reaches out and he does like put his hands on her waist, but it's a very slow, like, I'm going to make sure that my hands go where they're supposed to go and not somewhere else.
You guys look at different things than I do when people kiss. I'm really zoned in on the faces.
I mean, that too, but like I said, I've watched this movie a lot of times.
For whatever reason, the like grabbing the chain link fence distinctly sticks out in my fucking brain. Watching this movie, I was just like, oh.
Also, can we talk about how they put this man in so many white shirts
Oh, yeah.
and like rolled up them sleeves so many times, and I was like, you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing. Don't act innocent.
Especially when they were learning from her family how to dance.
And he has floppy hair, man.
Yes, he's got very floppy hair. I will say I was a little put off when Grandma actually unbuttoned his shirt.
I know. Every
That
time I
caught me
watched
off
it,
guard.
I'm
I was
like,
like, oh.
Grandma, lock it up.
Especially because afterwards she's like, he's got a nice body. And I'm like, Grandma.
Yeah, she's not.
can't
She's
touch
not.
people.
She's not okay. She's not doing things that are okay. And he's just sort of like, okay.
He's surrounded by people.
Like, you can't, this is the matriarch of a family. You can't piss that woman off. You're
No.
going to go with whatever she says.
You don't piss off an abuela. There's a chancla in your future. I know this, and I am very white.
Yeah. I've seen the TikToks.
I have ended up on Latin TikTok, and I am in love with it. It cracks me up. There's a guy that's like Latinas against spooky shit.
He's my favorite.
He's my fucking favorite. It's so funny. He like, there's certain like scary videos or whatever, and then he'll pop and he goes, "Hola, Latinos against spooky shit. No,
Don't open that.
don't open that.
You never should have done that."
You're gonna need some Vicks Vaporweb and a chancla. Put it back."
They're really funny.
Oh my god, they're so fucking funny.
But they almost like defeat the purpose of what he's trying to do, because then I immediately have to go to the video that he like stitched, and I'll be like, I gotta know what's the spooky. Show me the spooky.
There was one recently where it's like some white girl found an orisha in the woods.
What?
An orisha, so it's like it's a carving meant for voodoo.
Oh no!
And it's got like the shells and everything for the face and everything. She goes, found it in the woods, and I'm like, put it back.
Don't touch them things.
Put it back.
Listen,
Unless it's garbage that really shouldn't be in the woods, like plastic and shit, you leave it there.
don't fuck with the woods. But also, like,
That's a whole thing. Growing up without the woods around us, I see so many things on horror movies that are in the woods. I'm like, I don't want to go in
I
the
don't
woods.
feel like that's a good place to be.
No.
So Grandma, the other thing about her that I love is that they, at the very end, well, when she's doing this like, bro, you need to get some fucking rhythm, like get your shit together moment, right? Is that they bring it back at the end in this really awkward, cheesy like voiceover. Feel the rhythm.
Yes. Yeah, that was a choice.
Yeah.
It's so like, what? And then they added a line that she doesn't say in that scene, which is, don't be scared. It's like, wait, why?
The voiceover threw me off. I was like, "What? No, what? Stop talking. Just let me watch them dance."
It's too funny.
Well, the Don't Be Scared at least references the fact that Scott and Fran talk about that saying of like, living in fear is like living half a life or
Yeah.
something. So at least it's referencing something.
It is, but it would make more sense for her to then shout out that phrase.
Yeah.
It's a rare weak spot in an otherwise perfect movie.
Well, voiceovers like that were more popular and common
Right.
Yeah.
back then.
I will say, I really love also that in the process of like him teaching her to dance, she is simultaneously teaching him Spanish.
Yes.
I was like, I love that for you, bud.
It is such a cute little thing, the fact that he like says a few Spanish phrases to her. Also, when he chases after her, when she leaves the state championship or whatever competition, and he's like, no, I'm done dancing with Liz. I'm not doing this anymore. And he runs after Fran. I'm like, I want somebody to run
know.
after me.
My heart went pitter patter. Like, I thought
and
that was dead.
That leads to the perhaps dance, which is so sexually charged. The one where he's supposed to dance with Tina Sparkle in the social, and instead ends up dancing with Fran backstage.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The backstage dance.
Yes.
They like all dancing backstage. I was like, oh, they're so cute.
Well, and it's enough that it stops like everyone around them.
Right? Like no one interrupts them. They're just like, wow, okay.
Well then, alrighty there.
Oh, but then Fran, poor Fran, she's just like ganged up on constantly by Shirley and the other ladies.
Yes. Yes. They really do. That is like the one moment where you're like, actually, though, you are fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. But also, fuck you. Don't mess with my girlfriend.
Yeah. I can, on one hand, if I wanted to give Shirley any grace, I could maybe see how you're watching your kid who has worked his whole life towards something, just throw it away at the finish line because he, I don't know, feels like feels rebellious from her perspective at the very least. So I can see why she's being very pushy and almost controlling with him. But I don't like it.
Well, and when you think about it, she's also like, really, Barry Fife's whole speech to Scott about how he needs to try and win the Pan Pacific Grand Prix for his dad, in all actuality, is the truth for his mom.
Yeah.
Like, she never got to have that experience because Barry stole it from her by like manipulating her into dancing with a different partner.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess we're talking about him, so we probably should talk about the Barry shitheadness of it all.
He's so orange.
And gross.
Yep.
The scene that like took me out, because the first time I watched it is the scene where he's fielding phone calls about, like, are they going to allow new moves? Is that going to be like a thing? And he's literally in the middle of screwing the Miss Leachman, if you will. And she's like moaning and whatever, and he's like, "Oh, come off it!"
Oh my god, I was like, ew. I wanted to burn my eyeballs.
Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah.
I like had to pause the movie the first time I watched it. I was like, "Is that real? Did I just see?"
I was like, oh, why? What is happening?
Yeah, it's real gross. It's also real gross when he like wants to show, oh gosh, what are the friends' names?
Oh, I remembered every other name. I can't.
I don't remember either.
You know I'm no good at this.
Vanessa is the girl, right? In that couple?
Sure.
I think it's Nathan and Vanessa.
Why does Nathan sound wrong?
Nathan is one of the characters.
You're probably right.
It could be, there's a lot of characters on this list here that I'm looking at.
I kept staring at that guy and thinking, was he in Dead Poets Society?
His name is Wayne.
Wayne. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Wayne, and I think it's Vanessa is the gal.
Is he in Dead Poets Society?
I've never seen Dead Poet Society.
Is Wayne in Dead Poets Society?
The actor who played him.
I think so. I think you're right. I think you're on the money. No, I'm sorry, Danny. He was not the one.
He really looks like that guy in Dead Poets
He
Society.
does. You're not wrong.
I love Dead Poets Society.
I've never seen it.
So good.
Anyway, getting back on track.
Anyway, so yeah, Barry is also super gross when he's trying to teach, like, I think it's Wayne and Vanessa how to do that specific step.
Pogo.
Yes.
I love saying that.
And he's like, I don't have time for it. And then literally looks at her in her, in her skimpy ballroom outfit and is like, oh, I can teach her. And then this move is basically just thrusting on each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
It's super gross. I was like, oh, that poor girl.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a very gross move. I was very concernicus for her sanity.
But then we just learned he's a massive scumbag and has been basically manipulating the entire competition for however long.
Since he was a youth.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, what a sad flex.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my favorite part about that. Here's my favorite thing that contextualizes all of this. When they're talking about Tina Sparkle's partner bowing out of the competition, they're saying it because he needs to focus on his home and garden business.
Yeah. It's not like these people are getting rich off this damn ballroom dancing thing.
No.
In fact, it's fairly probably expensive to do this.
Yes.
Those costumes and sequins are not cheap.
Well, and they never wear the same one twice.
Yep.
So yeah, like, it feels like, oh, this is like the pros, and Fran's like a beginner facing up against pros, but it's like, well, no, these are just people who like this hobby.
Yeah, it's such a sad flex that like he kind of ruined these people's hobby and has manipulated, everything for years at this point. It's like that is such a terrible flex. Oh, so you're not full-time job? You're in control of this. I mean, I guess he could be being paid.
He's definitely getting
Yes.
paid.
Yeah.
Yes. So the way he's able to manipulate all of them is that they won't be able to teach afterwards if they don't know all the moves. Like, if you can't dance the moves, you can't teach the moves, and so we have to keep the moves under a very specific regimen so that we still have jobs.
Yep.
So there is that aspect to it, right? and something to sort of justify Les's behavior and Shirley's behavior, that like Scott is kind of fucking with their studio. So there is that. But on the note of Barry Fife, one of the things that I noticed this time around that I guess I just didn't pay attention to before is there's the gag about him like having his dance instruction videos, right?
Yeah.
And like I swear to God, that stand-up videos was his own paid actor, because
Yes.
it got in the way so many times, and there were so many bits with it. Like there's the part where his dad picks it up and like flips the tape around and puts it back. There's the bit where they like run into it and crash it, and Wayne's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then he's like, "Here, have this tape, and you just need to do these things for me," right? It was so well used the whole time.
Also, how expensive were they? Because those tapes were $29.99 in the early 90s.
Right?
Yeah, Jiminy Crickets.
Yeah.
That would be one of those things where your mom would be like, fuck no.
Well, and that's probably why Wayne is like, no, it's fine, until he finally he's like, "Here, have it for free," right?
Right.
Yeah. They're so expensive. It's like, what the hell?
At least, though, with this whole scheme that Barry did, Les immediately comes around.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Wayne and Vanessa, I swear her name is Vanessa, come up and tell him, "Oh no, Barry's trying to manipulate it so that Ken and Tina Sparkles win," and
Yeah, he
blah,
rigged
blah,
the
blah.
competition.
Les is like, "Don't worry, I got this."
Well, I'm sort of going back to the conversation of how old are Scott and Fran.
Yeah.
And I think something to contextualize it a little bit is that it's sort of implied that Wayne and Vanessa are younger
Yes.
and they're engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that can give us like a benchmark of like they're probably early 20s.
That's what makes sense to me.
That's
Right.
what makes sense to me too, because he still they both still live with their parents, which I realize was more common, I guess, kind of in the 90s to be living with your parents that long, and especially if he is part of like the dance studio and stuff, because he kind of works there, doesn't he, as well?
Well, it's also a different country with different cultural norms.
Very
Yeah.
true. And I mean, but apparently essentially both of their families are running businesses as well, so they're helping out with those businesses and stuff, so it does make sense that they would still be at home. But I do think that they're, early to mid 20s.
Yeah. So that's when the music gets turned off at the end, right? Is because Barry Fife wants to shut down Fran and Scott from dancing because they're finally going to go out on the dance floor and have their big dance. And Wiggles, this is just for you. Mrs. Leachman, do you want to know her first name is?
Yes, I do.
Charm.
No.
Fuck yes, it is.
Charm Leachman?
Charm Leachman.
I fucking love it. It's so good. I'm going to think that every time I watch it now. I'm like, shame on you, Charm Leachman.
So can we talk about when they're having their big dance
Oh, yeah.
and they arrive on the dance floor? That slide.
That jacket that he's wearing, I'm like, okay.
Well,
I'm
I like
in.
that they brought it back, right? So
Yep.
this is like, it's introduced when he like shows up unannounced at their family party, and they're like, "Paso Doble? No, man. Nah. What is this shenanigans? Get the fuck out of here." And then like her dad's like, "No, I'll show you what the fuck's up, bro." And he's like, "I am Riverdance King in this moment."
That jacket is gorgeous, though.
Yes, and they bring it out. They're like, "Since you're dancing, you better show off your chops, my guy. Here's your fancy jacket." And so then letting Scott wear it, and it's fucking everything.
It's gorgeous. And then he just slides across the like entire fucking dance floor on his knees,
Yes,
which I can tell you.
with a twist at the end.
Yep. Which I can tell you, I've done that unintentionally because klutz. That hurts. That hurts real fucking bad.
Yeah, I don't want to be sliding across and on my knees. I'm too old for that shit.
I did that in a hallway once. I like ran down the hallway because I needed to talk to one of my teachers. And we were at a show choir competition. And I went to turn into like the alcove that our group was in and did not catch my footing in time to turn. And I slid completely across the hallway on my knees. Like, it was, looking back on it, it was probably really fucking comical because I'm sure it was like nobody saw me coming and then just watched me slide across the entrance of this alcove on my knees. It hurt real bad. I do not recommend, but that slide was sexy as shit.
Your slide or Scott's slide?
Scott's slide. My slide was clumsy and weird.
Well, so he uses that move a couple times in that dance. Scott uses the slide a couple of times in this movie, like in general. Like he does like a backward like butt slide thing when he's like having his little like what's that Kevin Bacon movie?
Footloose?
That's the one. He has like a Footloose moment where he's like, I gotta just dance it out. And he uses it even a couple times in that dance. But the one where he like slides on to the dance floor,
it's
amazing.
Gorgeous. He did it, and I'm like, sir, you just got me pregnant.
The one though that has me literally losing my fucking mind is the one where he is spinning with her as she's like walking towards right at the end, and he's stops dead in front of her on his knees and like rises up, and you're like,
sir,
oh my god.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the way the man dances.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
There's so many moments, which is why I just like watch the dance scenes. Even if I'm not watching the movie, I'll be like, about time I watched the dance scene again.
I will say though, the one bummer for me about the final dance scene is the fact that they cut it with different other scenes, like trying to turn the music off and then turn it back on and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I just want to watch them dance.
I know, I did too. I was like, just let them dance.
There are supercuts out there.
Oh, I bet there are.
Yeah. Because like everyone wants that. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants, well, and here's the thing. I like just once want to be able to do that thing where like she's like holding onto him and he's like, lift your feet up, we're spinning.
Yes.
I want to do that so bad.
Well, we've spent a lot of time talking about Scott's dancing and only a little bit about Fran's, but you know, she gives him a lot of eyes during her dancing.
Yes, she does.
And I understand why.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get it.
Well, she's got a style of her own too. Like,
yeah.
They kind of wash over it a little bit and like turn it into her dad showing his style, and that's cool. But like there's a moment pretty early on where she shows him a move that she's been working on at home.
Yes.
And he's like, wait, show me that again. And it's like, oh, he appreciates your ideas. The bar is so low.
It really is.
I don't know. This man puts a lot of like expectations out in the world.
Yeah.
And not just the dancing.
He supersedes the bar for sure.
Yeah.
But
He's
the fact that I get excited that he liked her ideas is a little problem. Anyway.
He pretty much asks her permission to kiss her too, which
Yes.
makes me instantly like, he doesn't ask permission like flat out, but he's like, I don't think it is just dancing anymore. And it's giving her an option to have the conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
before.
he
moves very slow.
Yeah.
He does not just like dive in. He gets very close and like has a little one more moment of hesitation, and then he's like, we're here.
It's my favorite thing about older movie kissing is a lot of times like the guy will get very close, but then they sit there and wait and let the woman come the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always really liked that. I never realized what it was about it that I liked, but I think it's consent.
Yeah.
Because
Damn.
they stop just short to be like, is this, they don't say it, but is this what you want? And then the woman gets to make the decision. And
I think you've hit on something that I subconsciously was thinking about, but never consciously thought like, oh,
Because they do that a lot in especially older movies where
Yes.
they get really cold, really close, and then they stop just short and let the woman do the remainder of the moving.
Yes. Wow. Revelations happening in this episode today.
But talking about Fran again, I think one of the things I love about Fran is like she has so many classic like rom-com lead female moments that she immediately is like, then, but I'm not exactly like I'm not just like a cookie cutter rom-com girl, right? Like her glow up. And also like the fact that she is pretty bold with Scott for somebody she's never really interacted with ever.
Well, she chews his ass out when he first rejects her as a partner. She's like,
Yeah.
you're just scared. And
Oh, she reads him for filth.
oh,
and
she
I
goes
love
in.
it.
Yeah. And then immediately when they get to her family's place and like she just is like, well, you're here now, so I guess we're doing this. I'm like, oh, Fran, why don't I have your ability to just go with the flow?
By the way, so when like her dad is like marching him in the back to Paso Doble, I don't know why this cracks me up, but both her and her grandmother, instead of just like going outside and following them back, they go through the house and the store.
I think her grandma is like, no, it's going to take them a while. They're fucking around. That's how I read that.
It just cracked me up. I was like, because she started to, and then she just like turned around and went back through the house. And I'm like, why? Oh, all right. I guess you're just going to go through this way.
Yeah.
Also, like, here's the thing. Fuck corporations, but like that Coke sign on the roof of the not the store, but the studio, like the shimmers behind it, like
It creates a very pretty picture.
it's beautiful.
We've all wanted to dance on a rooftop in front of a neon sign. Let's be honest.
Well, I also love
I do now.
I love when they flip it and the dad's up on the
I know.
roof and they're in the studio. And he's just having the time of his life. He's like, oh, this clothesline works well.
The part that really gets me though is the montage of them learning how to dance from her dad, because like it just feels so inviting to be in that space and to be doing what they're doing and just kind of like laughing and having fun. And I imagine in my little headcanon that that's one of the first times Scott has been like allowed to have fun with dancing.
Yeah. I think that's the fun part about this is he's rediscovering that dancing can be fun for him because for so long it hasn't been.
Well, he said it's boring
Yeah.
for him.
I also like that the dad, when we first meet him, like they position it to seem like he's like a jerk and bosses her around and all this stuff. But like when you stop to think about it for a second, like she's coming home late with like lies, right? He's totally justified in being like, no, I'm sick of this shit. You're going to be here for the party that we've all committed to, Miss Ma'am. And no, you're not going out. Fuck that. Like,
Well, and even like as we assume that they're in their mid-20s, my parents would have reamed my ass if I was coming home with no warning whatsoever, in my 20s. It's a thing of you live in their house, give them at least the respect of letting them know when you're coming home.
And you're not going to ditch out on a family gathering.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and like the other factor is she is flat out lying and he can see through it. He's like,
Right.
Yeah.
this is what you've been doing. Please.
She keeps throwing poor Natalie under the bus. I had to help Natalie dance, had to help her move.
And so I like that they like give you this idea that he's going to be this strict hard ass. And then like as soon as he's like, okay, I've decided I don't hate this guy you're spending time with, he's like a huge softie the rest of the movie.
It's so fun.
Which again is another one of the classic like romance or rom-com movie things where the dad is like so against it. And immediately he's like, okay, you've explained yourself, so we're good.
Yeah.
And welcome to the family. Let's have fun.
Yeah. But you're going to have to improve.
But also you suck.
We're going to
So
fix this.
Well, when he's calls Fran over to dance with him and he's like, no, you're doing this wrong. Watch me with Fran, right?
Yeah.
And then she does it well and he tells her that she does well. There's like that once again should not hit my heart the way it does, but it sure does. I'm like, oh, he was proud of her.
Oh my God, when they're at the final competition and he's like, do you still want to dance with me? Blah, blah, blah. And they're about to go in. And then her grandma whips the dress out of the bag. I brought this just in case. I died.
She was like, I was born ready, bitch.
Is that not the most Midwest grandma thing you've ever seen?
Oh,
Yes.
fuck yeah.
Like, I was like, wait a minute. This is in Australia? We're sure?
Right.
Yes.
Midwest grandmas are always prepared.
Well, and Grandma, you gave her quite the hemline.
I know. But it's still more like covered up than anybody else on that ballroom.
By leaps and bounds.
I want that dress.
The way
I couldn't pull it off,
moves
but I
is
want it.
amazing.
Oh my God, it's stunning.
Yes. The costuming in this show, like we talked about the hair and the makeup, but the costuming's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so detailed, especially when you think about the fact that this is not a like movie that was made with one of these multi-million-dollar budgets that are just like insane, right? There was so much thought put into like this. Like Vanessa and Wayne are always in this awful like blue and lime or purple and lime green combo.
Yeah.
And like anytime Liz is partnered with Scott, she's in yellow. But whenever you're with Ken, you're always seem to be in white.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's very well done.
Well, and the other thing to consider with the costumes is that they're exquisite, tight, gorgeous costumes. They still have to be able to move in them.
Right.
Because they're still dancing.
And they need to look good moving in them as well.
Yes.
Right? Like while you can say that like the costuming, the hair, the makeup is all very gaudy, like the dance moves still have to look elegant and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And they do.
Well, I would imagine that they had somebody who knew how to design dance costumes.
Yeah.
So
They are specifically very different.
yes, they are.
But I love it all. Like the pageantry of it is insane, yes. But I also just enjoy, like, it's a feast for the eyes.
Well, and there's such a massive contrast between the pageantry of the costumes and then just what they're wearing day to day. Like in just classic white shirts, maybe a little grubby depending on who the character is. And like Fran usually is wearing something that's relatively simple.
In that 90s pattern dress that like everyone had that pattern. Like that floral dress that she has. Like I swear everyone in the 90s had that dress in some like it might not have been the same shape, but it was always that pattern.
Whether you were 5 or 50.
Right.
Yep.
I was
Fairly
like
certain my mother made my cousin and I matching dresses in that pattern.
I would believe it.
Yeah. And you could make the argument that there were different flavors of that pattern. It's still the same one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. One of the things that like I kind of really noticed this time watching it around is the concept of like opening yourself up to different cultures. And you might seem that that's like pretty obvious, but rewatching it with the eyes of somebody in like 2024 versus 2009, like just seeing how strict the ballroom dancing is, and it has to be just these specific moves that have all been determined by these old white men. And then the end of the movie is them being like, but what if we did Latin style dancing from actual Spanish people?
Yeah. Maybe we should, do a little less cultural appropriation, do a little bit more cultural appreciation. What do you say? What do you, what a concept, right? But it is distinct from a lot of 90s movies.
Yeah. The one massive bummer though, and it is an early 90s movie, is there is one extremely inappropriate word that's used. So if you hear it or find it, you've been warned.
Yes.
And
it's used for its intended offense.
Yes, it is meant to be offensive. It also happens very fast.
Yes. So that's a little warning for you if you haven't watched it.
It did give me whiplash.
Yeah.
Right, because there was no other like real swearing. I mean,
I know.
there was maybe a little bit, but it was very brief.
I actually rewind it to be like, did I actually hear what I heard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But here's what I will say. It is very clearly coming from the bad guy.
Yes. It's meant to
it's
be bad.
meant to demonstrate how bad he is.
Yeah.
But it is, a word we just don't use in anything anymore.
Yeah.
As it should be. Unless you're British and you still haven't figured out how to just say cigarette. What is that?
Does that word mean cigarette to them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also used in the derogatory way as well.
Yeah.
But
it's both.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway. So, okay. I'm going to wrap us up on a happier note.
Yes, please.
Because I really love the ending. I think it's like this very like happy moment of like, you can dance if you want to.
Yes. Everybody comes on the dance floor and just has a good time.
Right. And it's to the tune of Love is in the Air, which is cheesy and fun and like, but my favorite part about it is like, so you get everybody like joining them out on the dance floor and just having a good time. Cause like, fuck it, at this point, what is the competition?
Yeah.
And like, we get this one last like lingering shot of Scott and Fran kissing, and as the camera's pulling away, like you catch like people crossing in front of them and whatever, but you still like, if you keep looking at them, if you keep looking for them, you can catch them still being super fucking cute all the way to the end of the movie.
I like zoned in on them.
Yes. And I loved that so much that it's like, yes, there's all this shit around us, but like at the core, it's just us. Oh God, it's so cute. And it's a good kiss.
It is a good kiss. Mm-hmm. I will say that romance books have ruined a lot of things for me because I want an epilogue. I always want the epilogue. And they don't give it to me in these movies.
I like an indeterminate ending.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Boo.
I'm sorry. I'll do better in the future, I guess. But no, I think the ending's great. And I also like that I don't know exactly when it happens in the movie, but like that almost documentary style thing that we have at the beginning of the movie, like eventually just like peters off and you never come back to it again. And
yeah.
I like the first time I watched it, I was like, so at some point they're going to like break the fourth wall again, right? Nope. It's
never
just
happened.
done.
I was confused. I was so confused by that. I'm like, but it was a documentary. And apparently something terrible happened and I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Right. And then they just never come back to it. They're like, no, that's all we needed. Just that moment.
Well,
I was waiting for somebody to be dead, goddammit.
It's quality. It is. And so here we come to the ratings.
hell of a transition.
You're welcome.
What's your spice rating somehow?
Well, okay. I think you got to give it at least a 1 because of Barry Fife and charm.
That's a terrible.
Charm Leachman.
Oh.
It doesn't, just because it's not good doesn't mean it wasn't there.
I mean, she's correct. There was an awful lot of eye fucking.
Yeah.
There was, and there were some good kisses.
Fine. I will concede to the 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Romance.
I'm gonna go with like a 4.5.
Holy shit. Really?
Yeah.
All right.
They're so cute and I love them and I'm in love with Scott and it's fun.
I was gonna say 4. I actually really like their romance because they're getting to know each other as they learn to dance the correct way, and she's teaching him Spanish, and it's adorable, and I got a toothache from it.
Well, like, does Scott fuck up? Yeah, for sure. But then he like backtracks and he's like, but no, for real, I do really want to just be with you, but like my dad needs me to win the Pan Pacific Grand Prix.
I was feeling closer to a 3.5.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much happening that is not related to the romance that it kind of pulls away from it for me.
That's fair. That's
Fair enough. Yeah.
Your overall rating?
Oh, I think you know that this is a 5 for me.
I know it is. Oh gosh, it's a 4.5 for me. I hadn't like watched it in so long, and then rewatching it today, I was just like, oh, I do love this movie.
I'm giving it a 4. I really did enjoy it. I don't have the nostalgia factor that I think the two of you have, which is shocking because I'm usually the old movie person here. But yeah, I liked it. It made me laugh quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads us to recommendations. What do you got?
All right. So if you have been living under a rock and you have not watched the other two movies that are part of the Red Curtain trilogy, go fucking do that. Romeo and Juliet, Moulin Rouge, go watch them. They're great movies.
Yeah.
If you have and you would like a different recommendation, then I'm going to go with Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. The girls who get it. The girls who don't. And I'm so sorry. Go get it.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. God damn, some of those dancings are like,
Oh, that movie got me pregnant multiple times. Just saying.
I probably had a bit of an awakening to that movie. I'm going to be so honest. Like, whew. Anyway.
Danny?
So my suggestion was going to be the original Dirty Dancing, which also got me pregnant.
Oh, love
To the listeners, I have only actually been pregnant once. And then my other one was Shall We Dance? Because it has the teaching aspect to it. And I do love that in that one, the romance is not where you are expecting it to go.
All right.
Okay, so I knew that one of us had to not pick Dirty Dancing.
There are only so many Dirty Dancings.
I literally thought about this when I was thinking of recommendations. I was like, so somebody's going to pick Dirty Dancing. Somebody's going to pick Shall We Dance. Somebody's going to pick Moulin Rouge. What can you possibly pick that nobody else will think of? And so I went modern, and I'm actually getting away from the dancing because I don't like a lot of dance movies that have been released in the last like 10-ish to 15 years.
Fair enough.
Like the Step Up movies and like all that shit.
They used to be better.
Yeah. So I'm going with Pitch Perfect, actually.
Okay,
Ooh, good
okay.
choice. Yeah.
Because it is about, I mean, the a cappella singers having to like learn a different way to do a cappella from this random girl who shows up and is like, I could do a cappella with them. I mean, you guys know the plot of Pitch Perfect. I'm just trying to connect it. So that's my random recommendation.
All right.
So, yeah, that's the end of it, folks. If you like this episode, please find us out there on the socials. Drop a comment. Like, we would seriously love to hear from you, even if it's just, hey, I liked that episode. Or if you have a suggestion, the whole reason that we did Ensnared is because somebody suggested it on TikTok.
Yep.
So find us out there at Wrong Dust Jackets, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, you know, all the places except for Twitter.
Twitter's a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Or find us out on our website at wrongdustjackets.com. Check out our blog posts. And yeah, please let us know what you thought. We'd love to listen to you, to your comments about us.
Odds are, if you recommend it, we'll do it.
True.
Yeah.
True.
That is a statistically high probability.
Well, thanks, y'all. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.